What we're going to do next, folks, is we have a panel. Arif, as I said, is a member of that. Coming out here, we have Ivona, we have Jennifer, Nithin, David, and Rob. So please make some noise and welcome them to the stage. What we're going to do is they're going to do a quick round of introductions. They're going to have a discussion, then we'll have some time afterwards for y'all to ask some questions. So, who's batting lead off?
All right, I'll take it from here. Hello, New York. Are all excited? So here we are. We are here at the panel with AI, NFT, and blockchain. Three biggest buzzwords where you can make a lot of money, hopefully. That's where the VCs are putting their money, so you better be there too, right? So when you go out from this conference, there'll be something that you will gain. You will gain wealth. It'll be either financial wealth or at least intellectual wealth. I'll guarantee you that. I've got a great panel of guys who have products that I'm going to introduce them to you. But before that, I just want to say a big thanks to Jody, Nft.NYC, and Cameron. Give a big hand for them, guys, because I have been part of Nft.NYC for the last 4 years. So this year, there are 5,000 people who have bought the tickets. There's 3,000 on the waiting list. I still remember the first time when I came here, there were less than 100 of us. So yesterday's speaker dinner had close to 1,000 people. That's how much it has grown. And you saw the numbers with David saying all that. But I'll tell you 2 examples from my life that happened where I gained wealth just by being at Nft.NYC. 2 years ago, before entering my talk, there was a bunch of guys who talked about something. He came off stage, and I asked him, what are you guys doing? They told me they were building an L2 solution on Ethereum. And they said that Ethereum Foundation invested in them. I go back home, call my partner, I say, we got to buy Matic. Ethereum has put money on them. That's what we got to do, buy Matic. I don't know what they're going to do, but the smart guys at Ethereum figured it out, right? So we just buy Matic. And we bought a tiny piece of Matic. It was below a penny at that time. That's one. Something else happened yesterday. So after the dinner, I happened to hang out with the Kongs. You know the cyber Kongs? Never owned a Kong, but I'm planning to buy a baby Kong right now. I gained so much info from them. I met guys who had 10 Kongs with them. You know, a Kong goes for close to 200 Ether right now. And they bought it for less than 0.01 Ether. So maybe you're going to find your Kong or something that's going to happen. But before that, I'm going to take you through each one of them, each one of our panelists over here. So I'll start with platforms and tools, and I'll take you to Jennifer Chang. She has something called playform.io. I made my account over there. You guys should and try it out, and I will leave it to her to introduce the whole platform, okay?
Thank you. It's been so nice to meet all the people on this panel. It's an amazing group of people here. And I think we really represent the different applications of AI within the NFT space. So I'm Jennifer Chang. I'm the CEO of a company called playform.io. And we create no-code creative AI tools for Web3 artists. So our company is commercializing the technology developed by Dr. Ahmed El-Gamal, who founded the Art and AI Laboratory at Rutgers University and was funded by Khosla Ventures. We launched our platform in 2019, and we quickly discovered that a lot of our early adopters were part of the crypto art movement. You know, this was before all the activity that we saw earlier this year. And so our artists actually led us down the rabbit hole. They're the ones that took us into this space because they found a really unique way of applying AI and sharing it with the larger NFT collector community. And so we're really excited about applying our portfolio of AI technology in this new emerging space for digital fine art.
Thank you, Jennifer. As I said, I was not an artist. I was part of the NFT thing because of crypto. I cannot draw a painting. But now, I don't know how many of you have heard of GANs or generative adversarial networks. You can create art. You just have to have an idea, like CryptoPunks. All these things are created by a program. You can buy one of those, or you can just download it. Many of them are free. You just can train it. And I'm going to take you to Ivona, who sells a lot of these things on OpenSea and many of the platforms out there, and she's going to explain some things that she has done. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm a generative AI artist, and I'm also AI engineer and researcher, coming from a mixed background of photography for 10 years, as well as AI for more than 5 years. So AI art was something kind of perfect for me, this perfect intersection of all of my passions. This is why I was super happy to start it. And yeah, I train generative adversarial networks, GANs in short, on my photography collections. And this way, machine recreates something of a morphing animation that has this dreamlike quality, and it's machine's interpretation of my own memories. And also my goal with the work is to evoke subjective emotions in viewers that are based on their viewing of the places that might seem familiar, but they are never real. So there's a lot in there, and I believe that AI art as a technologically native medium might be one of the most promising mediums in this space, because of course photography and traditional art, painting, have seen its shining moments in the past, but if it's a technological and artistic and cultural revolution that we are seeing with the NFTs, then perhaps historically those mediums that have emerged with the NFTs might be of the most value.
All right. So, as I said, now you can, or the program can create art, right? The only problem is man-made art and computer-generated art. Do you think that computer-generated art is ugly compared to man-made art?
Well, I mean, there always has to be human in the loop, I believe, because art has to evoke emotions, and without a human, it's very difficult to evoke emotions in something that is completely machine-like. I mean, it's also something that can help us explore the unseen, explore those huge amounts of data, and create something that we would never have been able to imagine. But the question is how to create that and how to choose what is valuable, and this is where human comes into the loop.
As I said, from this, I hope some of you guys over here go on to create your own CryptoPunks or apes or something like that. But when you create those, just by you creating it doesn't mean anything. You have to build a community, okay? Somebody has to buy it. They have to know that you have created it. Just posting it on OpenSea alone won't do. So this is why I'm going to bring David in. He has something called NFT Scoring. He will explain what NFT Scoring is, and that's a way maybe you can build communities.
Thank you. So my name is David. I'm a co-founder of NFT Scoring, which is the analytical platform. We sort of leverage AI and data analysis to find out promising NFT projects. We started it out a couple of months ago because of the eruption in the space of NFTs, which is a great thing, but it also brings some pitfalls, so I can say. One is that there's so much noise in the space right now that's very hard to understand which projects are promising. There's so many new projects coming up every day, and we believe that with AI and data analytics, we can actually help people understand what's going on. Because no one has time to spend countless hours on Twitter. I mean, we all love to. That's why we're here, right? But not everyone just wants to spend hours there to understand the projects, to find out new ones. And it's all about the communities. So what we do is that we track the engagement on Twitter. We track what people are talking about on Discord. And we sort of put everything into a simple dashboard. It's all about dumbing down the data. And there's so much more coming. Right now, we're working on a feature that's gonna be released in few days. And it's about tracking what the whales do, actually, which is a promising thing. We believe that's gonna be huge. We sort of track what the whales buy, what do they sell, and based on that, anyone can make a decision on which project is really a good one.
Cool. I had a question for you, David. So let's assume I come with the next ape. Can I, buy myself to get a higher position on NFT scoring? Is there we can do something like that? I pay to play kind of thing?
You cannot really do that because we have transparent data behind all the projects. what you can do is that you can pay a featured ad on our site. That's like our revenue stream. And actually, when you're talking about those revenues, it's what we're doing now is that we're releasing like 1,000 NFTs for the core community. And among those 1,000 NFTs, there's like 100 diamond passes that you can mint. And those people, the holders of those diamond passes, will be direct shareholders of those revenues. So we believe that this is like how we should give back to the community. That's why like we believe that featuring projects via ads on our website are a good thing, because we can leverage that and give back to the people who supported us.
So the main news the last week was Facebook changing their name to Meta. Everything is about the metaverse right now. That's the next big thing. To understand how big the metaverse is, you got to understand Facebook is plowing $10 billion every year right now into their whole project, and they are expecting to see some revenue back only in 3 to 4 years. That's what his statement was. So it is a big thing. I don't know what the meta is. I've read the book. I've read Neil Stephenson. I've read Snow Crash. And if you haven't read it, you should. Or if you haven't read or seen Ready Player One, definitely do that too, because that's the only way I could figure out some sense out of it. I'm an old guy, okay? Now, to get into the metaverse, I'm going to go to Arif. He's going to explain the metaverse. And he was there, but he'll take you through what is the possibility, maybe.
Sure. Thanks, Nithin. It's a wonderful pleasure to be on the panel with Jennifer, Ivona, and David, and with you moderating as an OG, being there in the space beforehand. So I think like the metaverse, most people think the simplistic analysis sometimes is to think of it as open or closed. And a lot of us have made the judgment or decision that Facebook's Meta would now fall in the closed metaverse application, and most Web3-oriented metaverses that we see today, whether it's Axie, whether it's Sandbox, these would be considered open. That's directionally correct. But if you think of an x-axis that has on the left closed, on the right open, the Web3-oriented platforms would be on the right, in that they would be on the open side. On the left would be Meta, which is the Facebook version. But introduce another dimension here, which is whether that metaverse is intelligent or unintelligent. And introduce a y-axis here, and ask yourself how many Web3 platforms are indeed integrating AI the way Facebook's Meta will be. Because if you think of Facebook's Meta, they already have tremendously powerful algorithms that run their news feeds in a very sophisticated way. This AI component will provide a multiplier effect that Web3 startups will have tremendous difficulty overcoming in the acquisition of users, but also in the understanding of how this data is being generated and what is the customer demanding. So if you introduce intelligence and unintelligent metaverses, unfortunately, most Web3 platforms today fall in the open side of things, but they've not yet fully added the multiplier that AI can. And this is where I think the battle is actually going to be either won or lost, because if you have an existing ecosystem that has some of the best machine learning scientists and engineers paid some of the highest salaries in the world, dedicated to making sure that you stay in their closed metaverse, there is going to be a strong incentive for the user or customer to do that. So for us, from an NFT standpoint, or at least from an intelligence standpoint, or AI standpoint, or people building this, it is imperative upon us to provide this optionality to every Web3 metaverse builder, that they look at integrating AI, that they look at the multiplier effect it can build, because otherwise we would certainly lose the battle.
Oh, Jennifer, for a guy like me who's never done a painting, don't know how to appreciate art, how easy would it be for me to come on your platform and just create my own NFT that looks super cool?
So, I mean, our platform makes GAN technology really accessible for anyone to create. So, you know, anyone with little art training can come on the platform and create something. But to Ivana's point earlier, art is really about the artist. And ultimately, it's really what our platform aims to do is take away the technical barriers, I've heard from a lot of our artists where they might have like a shaky hand, which makes it very difficult for them to draw. But through this AI technology, they're actually able to reflect what's going on in their brain and share that with the world. And so I think while AI and all this new technology makes it easy to create, it's really reducing down art down to what is your vision. And really, if it might not be that you're a technical person where you can draw, sketch, or paint, but I mean, having gotten to know you the last couple of days, you're an incredibly creative person. You have a lot of interesting vision. You connect with humans on this very innate level where you know how to express and communicate. And so I feel like that's really what our technology aims to do. Help you express all of those things without the technical barriers that have traditionally existed within art.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to open the floor for you guys. If you want to ask a question to the panelists over here, anything that you want to ask, let me know. Raise your hands, and I'll get you the mic.
No microphone needed.
NFTs you showed earlier, you mentioned feeding them a book for their knowledge. So if one of us picks up a personality pod, we connect it to an NFT, where do we go from there? Do we have to feed it information like that? How does it become?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So for those who did not hear, thank you for speaking loudly as well, but just and making sure that the question was heard. But his question was, how essentially do you upgrade an NFT? What's that training process like? So I believe we're entering an age, because NFTs provide that property rights layer, we're going to enter a period where it's going to be easy to cut, copy, and paste a personality, a language structure, a coherent persona that, for example, an author may have in a book, and copy and paste and remix things. Just like we remix songs, just like we remix music, just like we recreate art. We're going to be able to have a character in the future, or NFT collections, where, let's say, I don't know whether this is sacrilegious, but let's say you have a Confucius-like character who also is able to recite Hamlet from Shakespeare, right? So once you feed them the right data sets, they would then be able to infer and provide answers from the data set. So it's true, you would be uploading some level of data, doing some labor, to then train the soul of that NFT so that it could have that intelligence embedded in it. And there's like a little bit more of a complicated answer in the longer term, because we have a shared intelligence, but I'll leave that out for now.
Okay. Questions? Go ahead, guys.
Hi, it's a great talk. My question is, what AI cannot do without NFTs? Because most of the concept you mentioned before, it's existing like a assistant, AI assistant. They trained in the same way as the one you showed. So my question is, what AI cannot do without NFTs? Okay. What NFT plays in the special role here? Thank you.
I'll take this, and then maybe you can pass it on to others as well. So I think the question is what AI can do without NFTs. AI can do a lot today. It doesn't need, like a drone strike doesn't need any NFT or provenance, right? Like, it's unfortunate, but like there's an entire world where AI exists where there's no blockchain. That's perfectly fine. But where it starts to get really interesting is when you can start owning the provenance of that intelligence. So for example, the INFT of Alice, or the INFT of these revenants, they're not just chatbots anymore. You can actually resell and create markets around these. This is what blockchain enables. But additionally, because of the provenance, because of the history, you can actually see what was actually there and how it can actually be passed down from owner to owner. So there is, for example, a collection called the Revenants on OpenSea. You can now see why this is foundationally different from, let's say, just AI chatbots, right? Because you've now embedded the NFT component, you now have an ownership layer added onto the AI. So you can actually own that intelligence. And that's a bit of a dimensional shift in the direction of the user and the owners to actually own this aspect of intelligence. Previously, all of the AI was oriented around centralized services. Now you can start seeing an underpinning on the NFT side of things. So hopefully that addresses it.
So before we go to the next question, if you've read the essay, 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly, you know if you're an artist or a creator, let's say you're an artist, how many paintings can you draw very quickly for your true fans? 365 days, I don't know how many you can do as quick for if you have 1,000 fans, or your die-hard fans. If you're an artist over here, if you start using GANs and stuff like that, maybe you can start creating more stuff for your true fans.
I had a question about adaption versus originality. You say you're inputting these data sets into these NFTs and you're able to communicate and work on projects with these characters from the past, but inputting data set means you're only going to be able to encapsulate a little bit of their personality, and part of that is going to be an adaption. How do you still keep their original soul and personality inputting these data sets, and how much will adaption be affected by that?
So Nithin, I worry I'm going to jeopardize the panel, but I'll just try one more
Sure,
question.
that's okay.
We'll try and
That's
get.
fine.
So one thing that is important is, yes, there is a level of reductiveness and centralization today because of the large language models. So you're not going to get the 100% Shakespeare experience if you have trained Shakespeare and Hamlet. But when you start asking Shakespeare, it's important to understand that it's an evolutionary path. The more data Shakespeare ingests about the interactions, the more intelligent that Shakespeare character will get. So at the start, it has familiarity. So if you ask, for example, if you go to Noah's Ark, if you speak to, I think we have like a stoner cat personality. You talk to the stoner cat personality, he just wants to get high and watch his favorite TV shows. But if you speak to, let's say, a Mumtaz Mahal, who the Taj Mahal was built after, she'll talk to you a little bit about, if you ask her who she is or if you ask her certain questions, her personality would shift towards that of Mumtaz. So these subtle personality shifts, just like you observe with us as human beings here, in our different language structures, in our different intonations, you'll start seeing this with NFTs as well. And that's sort of the soul. But the evolution of this to make them more complex and sophisticated is coming.
A quick question. Who over here already has an NFT? Oh, Jesus, everybody has one? All right. Who doesn't have an NFT? Let's do it that way then. Okay. All right. Is there a question from somebody who doesn't have an NFT? Let's put it that way. Okay. I'll go back to the guys who already have an NFT. This will be the last question, okay? All right. Okay. This will be the last question. The speakers are going to be here. You can talk to them after this.
I would like to ask David. He talked about some sort of AI using in NFT scoring. So what type of AI is there?
Thank you for that excellent question. When you look at all those projects that have been successful, there's also there's plenty of projects that were not that successful. You can take a look at all those data and what actually drove the success of the project. And we use machine learning models. We use different types of mathematical regressions to understand what aspects, what features the project needs to have to be successful, how the community must interact, because it's mostly about the community, but it's also what Jennifer mentioned, it's about the artist as well. There needs to be a real art behind it as well, and we believe that we can leverage all those data, all those features, and feed it into different algorithms to understand what's actually going on and to use it for future projects.
All right, guys, we have run out of time, but all of them, they're going to be here outside once we are done with this. If you have a question for them, I'm sure they'll be happy to answer your questions. I hope we did a good job explaining AI and NFT. Thank you very much for being a patient listener.